Gonna get into a spoiler-free movie review. I'm joined now by my wife and co-host Kelsey. How are you?
I'm good. I just feel like disproportionately lower here.
You are a little lower. You're in the director's chair.
I need to work on my posture anyways. Okay.
If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the difference in our chairs. So we're about to talk about Theater Camp, which before we get into what this movie is about, I want to talk about our theater experience. This is a movie we went to go watch at our local community theater, nonprofit theater called the Bell Court in Nashville. And if you ever get a chance to visit Nashville, and obviously because you listen to this podcast, you're a big movie fan, highly recommend you check out the Bell Court. Wouldn't you say?
I love the Bell Court. They only have like 3 screens, but the snack selection
is great.
Is incredible. And it's truly great.
I just love supporting an independent theater because it feels like they care more about you.
Yeah, and they show a lot of movies that we wouldn't be able to see.
A lot of Regal. And a lot of foreign films, a lot of lower budget movies like Theater Camp. So whether it be the Bell Court if you're in Nashville or any just local theater that you can go support somebody who feels like it actually matters to them that you were there, I would say go and support them and watch movies like Theater Camp. So this movie is about a struggling summer camp for theater kids. Their founder is trying to raise money to get a bunch of kids the ability to be able to go to this camp, and right at the start of it, she gets put into a coma.
Yes,
and
she does.
So then her son has to come and run the camp, and then all the other people who work at the camp are trying to let her legacy live on.
She's not dead.
She's not dead. She's just in a
it's
coma.
not living on. It's just still living.
But they are trying to honor her through a new play called Joan Still. It's a ridiculous plot when you think about it. The whole premise of this movie is ridiculous, but the entire thing plays out so well. So going back to our theater experience, we watched this in a movie theater that only holds 34 people.
Yeah, it is the screening room at the Bell Court.
And it was sold out. So first thing was I felt a little bit claustrophobic.
Yes.
That we were in the third row.
There's smaller rows and there's only one entrance on the side. So you can't... It's not like at a bigger theater where you can go up the stairs and go to both sides. It's like you walk in, then you have to go down the stairs, and there's 2 rows behind the projector, and then 3 rows in front of the projector.
And I kind of felt like when either a dog or a cat has like a bunch of people over that they don't know, and they immediately go into like survival mode, like what has happened? That's how I felt. So much so that I asked for us to move from that seat to the very front row. Like with everybody coming in the row, I just felt like they were going to be walking up throughout the entire movie, like coming back out, and it was going to be a pain.
Which, I'm an aisle girl. I don't like to walk over people. I don't mind when people have to step in front of me, but I know that I'm going to have to get up at some point. So it was fine. I mean, the third row and the first row in that small of a theater didn't really make that much difference, but it did kind of feel like the screen was like right here.
Yeah, that is normally why I'm not a front row person, but I felt because this theater room was so small that it wouldn't have that big of an impact. I was okay with it. I like being engulfed in a screen.
It was a short movie, but I did laugh when the guy next to us came in with snacks, sat down next to his girlfriend, and whispered, "I don't think I've ever sat this close to a screen in my entire life."
We were very close. But with those 34 people filling out this theater, I really feel like that added to the level of community in this movie.
It was a sense of camaraderie. We all enjoyed the movie.
It was a big bonding experience to where I feel like watching it with that amount of people really made this movie a lot funnier. It made it more of an experience. And what I loved about Theater Camp is what I always look for in a comedy like this is how many jokes do they attempt throughout the entire movie, like the per capita, like how many are they firing out and hitting on? They don't really have to hit on every joke for me, but the fact that they keep attempting jokes and throwing things out there that are comedic, it's not about how many punches you land, it's about how many attempts you have when it comes to me in comedy movies. And I feel like throughout this entire movie, it was just one after the other. That's
a good boxing reference. Is that because we've been boxing on the weekends?
Exactly.
I feel like our instructors would appreciate that.
And the other thing about this movie and about comedies nowadays is people say you can't really make a funny movie anymore. I think what Theater Camp shows is you have to be a little bit more niche when it comes to making a comedy. And I think that's why this movie is resonating with so many people, because it's very much a relatable movie to anybody who did theater.
I wasn't even a theater kid. I take that back. My starring role in the 8th grade, I was at a new school. I thought if I joined the play, I would make friends. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. And I was in The Hobbit, and my only line was to hiss on stage.
Can you give us a little of that?
No, thank you.
But I'm not a theater kid either. I aspire to be, but I wasn't extroverted enough to be a theater kid. Like, I think personality-wise, I identified with that, but as far as actually being in plays and singing in musicals, I was not a theater kid.
You were the theater tech, weren't you?
Yeah, I would have been more the tech in this movie. But I still feel like it was so relatable to anybody who was in theater or was around it and knew about it. Like, I feel like that is what you have to do to make a comedy, is be a lot more relatable to a very select group of people. So much so that even like us who weren't theater kids, you can watch this movie and really appreciate it.
It's relatable in the sense that, like, if you were ever the kid that, like, kind of had a niche and didn't fit in. Like, I was the super nerdy kid. I could be friends with a lot of people, but, like, I was nerdy. I didn't do sports. I was president of the math club. Like, just the hits just kept coming on, like, the nerdiness for me. And I feel like I could relate to this movie because they're a bunch of oddballs.
Yeah. And the other thing about it is, if you don't relate to the theater part, maybe you relate to the camp part. And another thing, I never went to summer camp. Did you ever go to any summer camps?
I did. You're not missing out on much.
What kind of summer camp did you go to?
Went to a lot of church camps.
Okay.
I broke my wrist at a church camp.
Ah, is that why your wrist is the way it is?
Yeah, and if you can't see in the bone, it just sticks out there. Yeah. Did a lot of church camps. I'm trying to think if I did anything else.
If you were to go to camp now as an adult, what kind of camp would you go to? I think I would want to go to like a space camp with a high focus on aliens, where you like watch the skies and try to find anything weird. You learn about UFOs and have like this bonding experience just learning about alien creatures. I think that would be fun to me as a summer camp, as an adult anyway.
I would like to go to On-Site here in Nashville, which is basically a therapy camp. As an adult, therapy camp sounds amazing.
I would actually probably benefit a lot from a therapy camp.
And they take your phone, so it really is like summer camp. The worst part of summer camp was just that you gave up any modern convenience. Like, there was no air. You're bringing like a clip-on fan. Everyone smells. They're sending you to bed at like midnight, and then it's like up at 6:30 for the next day. I need my beauty sleep. That is not enough sleep.
What you just described were my summers in Mexico.
Okay.
That is exactly it. It's hot. People smell. You go to sleep really late. There's no air conditioning. That is my summer in Mexico.
Okay, but
maybe I went to summer camp. It was just Mexico.
But the food was better in Mexico, was it not?
Oh, that's true. There
Yeah,
was
the
a lot of
summer
good
camp food is not good. It's just a bunch of like teenagers serving you overbaked lasagna made for $400.
I ate a lot of swine in Mexico, but it was also the result of me getting very sick as a kid. The sickest I ever got was in Mexico one summer.
We've told this story before.
Where I started hallucinating and I saw a little leprechaun clapping that I was so out of my mind. And I think that's why now as an adult, I don't really get sick that often, because I drank the water in Mexico, I ate the food, got so sick, and now I'm like immune to some diseases.
Two thoughts. One, little leprechaun's a little redundant. I feel like you could have just...
No, it was a little leprechaun.
Okay.
Clapping
Two,
his hands.
that is why you have the immune system of steel. What's frustrating is you never get sick from me, but when you get sick, I get sick.
Yeah, that is unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate.
But you
all right, back to the actual
back
movie.
to the movie. But you look at the cast in this movie, and it's a lot of characters that you don't really think go together, but when you see them all on screen, it all works together so well.
So good. Well, and a lot of the people know each other or like have worked together.
Yeah.
Two of the writers were Ben Platt, Noah Galvin. They're engaged. And then Molly Gordon. And I feel like Molly Gordon's been in something with Ben Platt. She was on The Bear.
Mm-hmm.
She was already knew one of the other characters in the movie who came in as like a new camp counselor who lied on her resume, and it was hilarious.
And then Jimmy Tatro plays the son of Joan in this movie, who takes over the camp and is trying to run it, but he's very much like a bro influencer wannabe, like crypto guy. And
he's a Bitcoin guy.
And he has no idea how to run the camp. And I've been a fan of his since like the YouTube days. Like 2010's YouTube was so influential on me, and he's really been like consistently doing things throughout the 2010s. So much so that YouTube isn't even his main focus anymore. Now he's done a lot of movies. I think his biggest thing has probably been American Vandal on Netflix, where a bunch of people like started to recognize him. But I feel like he is a person who's just been grinding for so long now. And I wouldn't say this is a typical role I would have expected of him. I see him more like he was in 22 Jump Street. But this is, I feel like, more of his wheelhouse. I feel like he is able to show a lot of the side that he shows on his YouTube channel in this character. And I feel like he was my favorite part of this movie.
He was so good. That, and then the girl from The Bear that's in this, who's been in everything.
Yeah, Ayo Adibri, who is going to be in another movie I'm about to talk about in the next trailer, who I feel is just in a lot of things right now. And I kind of feel like there's this new Hollywood class slowly creeping up in movies and TV.
She has such a like recognizable face now from all the things. And then she voiced in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well.
She was April
So she's
O'Neil.
been in everything lately.
And I think she does so well in comedies. And I feel like now there is a slight shift on comedy slowly making a return, which I'll get into more when I'm talking about Bottoms. But this movie really made me feel that, where throughout this entire movie, everybody in our theater was laughing the entire time.
I was cackling, laughing.
There were just ridiculous moments. There were memorable songs, especially like the finale song.
Camp Isn't Home.
It was such a great moment in a movie that I feel like, look, you can make great comedies if you focus on one specific thing. And it also reminded me of one of my favorite movies of all time that I was talking about earlier, Heavyweights. This kind of felt like that, but instead of a camp for overweight kids, it was a camp for all these theater kids. Similar struggles. You have the outcasts, you have the big corporation trying to take you down, trying to close this camp. So kind of the same plot lines of the underdogs from Heavyweights are the underdogs in theater camp. So I think that's also why, if you are a fan of movies about underdog stories, this is a great one for you too. So anything else I missed about this movie that you loved?
Even with seeing some of the funny parts in the trailer, like there were still laughable moments. Because I know that's kind of a thing. I feel like that happened to a lot of Melissa McCarthy's movies.
Yeah, all the good jokes
where
in the
they
trailer.
would show all the good jokes in the trailer, and then you go to the movie and you're like, I've already seen that. And that's not her fault. That's just whoever produces the trailers. But I thought that this movie still made me laugh despite all of the funny parts. And the funny parts that they showed in the trailer were what made me want to go see the movie.
Yeah.
So it brought me in, but then they still kept me laughing.
And I still found myself laughing at the jokes that were in the trailer because they were still funny in context.
They were funny.
Which rarely happens. So I really love this movie. If you had to give Theater Camp a rating, what would you give it?
4.5 out of 5 tap dances.
Oh, that's good. I think I'm right between that 4 and 4.5.
Which would be a 4.25.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go 4.5.
Okay.
And I think I would give it a 4 if I watched it on my own. But I think that 0.5 is that community experience of watching this movie with other people and adding to that level of humor. When you see other people laughing and hear other people laughing, it makes you want to laugh more.
It was also a very diverse group.
Yeah.
Which was fun.
And I think that is how comedy should be seen now. And it's harder to get people into a theater to watch a comedy like this, especially with not a whole lot of marketing. There's no A-list star in this movie.
I would beg that Ben Platt's... He's not A-list, but in the theater community, he's A-list.
Yes,
so, like,
he
this
is.
movie is targeted towards... If you were looking at the target of this movie, which is probably theater kids and theater lovers, Ben Platt is an A-lister, which we also saw Ben Platt at a restaurant here one time.
Oh, we did see a meeting. That was one of those moments where we're pretty good at picking out
We are
famous people.
so good at it. And we're, like, really good at just kind of like that. Just kind of, like, look at each other and we're like...
And sometimes people just look famous and and you go through your Rolodex of like, who could that be? And that was when we were like, that's who that is.
But I feel like he's just pretty chill.
But anyway, yeah, I give it a 4.5 out of 5 throat coat packets, which was another thing that was it was so specific. There's a joke where it reminded me, again, of Heavyweights whenever they were like confiscating all of like the fast food they were getting in from outside the camp. The joke here is that they have the throat coat, which is tea that you drink to help your voice. A lot of performers use it. And just that joke that I don't really...
That's like contraband.
Yeah, that I don't really identify with that as far as like knowing what that does for your voice, but I just love that joke in there. It was great.
It was good. I know there's so many other things, but I don't want to give it all away. But there's one scene where they're all doing auditions for a play, and this one kid just sings something out of left field.
Oh, yeah.
And I won't say what it is, but it's chef's kiss.
It hit me in the heart. But that is our review of Theater Camp. Anything you want to say before you go?
Go see it. Go see it at your local indie theater. We love the Belcourt so much. We are going there tonight to see a movie.
There we go.